George W. Bush just called out all white supremacists.
It means that bigotry or white supremacy in any form is blasphemy against the American creed.
He said white supremacy is blasphemy against the American creed. By American creed, he means this wonderful, multicultural, multiracial societies we live in with daily doses of beautiful enrichment all across the United States. He couldn't be more right about bigotry being on the rise when you have prominent black leaders and others in the Democratic Party saying things like this.
Solution to racial inequality in the US. Chanel Helm, the movement's organizer in Kentucky, wrote an article making 10 suggestions for white people. The first says they should leave their property to minorities if they don't have any descendants. The list also urges readers to record people who make racist comments in the workplace and get them fired.
Question this woman on her qualifications is going to be something that does appeal to folks like you, voters like you, bow tie and white boys. But at the end of the day, it is going to back
the fact that public monuments are supported by public funds. You're asking me to subsidize the insult of my family.
Jefferson had slaves.
And I would repeat that the public should not be paying to uphold somebody who has had that kind of background.
We don't need white people leading the Democratic Party right now.
What do you say to the people who dragged a poor white guy out of a car and beat him?
Oh my goodness, poor white people, please! Oh my, stop it!
Because you can't control what your race is, and yet they seem to be doing that. Explain that to me.
What I say to that is boo-hoo-hoo. You white people are angry because you couldn't use your white privilege card.
Former President Bush went on to say, America needs to accept globalism and reject white supremacy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like our former president, at one point in time, a very powerful person who signed a lot of our freedoms away, wiretapped Americans without us knowing, and gave the A-OK to torture our captives, is saying, if we don't accept globalization, we are white supremacists? That's right, white people. If you don't accept the hordes of non-Europeans entering your countries, you are a white supremacist. If you're against the promotion of transgenderism, homosexuality, and other forms of degenerate behavior, you are anti-globalist and therefore a white racist or whatever. The word white supremacist is thrown around a lot, like Kim Kardashian's ass from one person to the next. It's a very subjective word. If you are white, according to many leaders in the minority community, you just might be a suspected white supremacist, even if you don't know it yet. Bush really nails it on the head, even if it's in the most simplistic terms. It's whites, not whites who think they're supreme over anybody, but just regular white people who have been shafted over the past decades by globalist policies bent on the complete destruction of European people, Western civilization, and extracting the wealth from these nations. Bush has always been a useful tool for the globalists, doing their bidding from the Patriot Act to the illegal invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan. With the swipe of a pen, many of our freedoms we once enjoyed disappeared with the Patriot Act. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan left the U.S. with trillions, and yes, I mean trillions of dollars in debt, with countless people killed and wounded. It's obvious where Bush's allegiances lie, and it sure as heck ain't with the United States, but with the banksters, the tribe, and other anti-white, anti-American forces. As I watched the video of former President Bush reading from his script, I can't help the feeling that he seems to be more of a puppet than a person who actually believes what he's saying. But I guess that's who makes it to the position of president, a useful puppet who gets patted on the head for being a good little traitor. Bush also mentions politics being more vulnerable to conspiracy theories and fabrications. Conspiracy theories infesting politics today? I can't imagine why on earth he would ever conclude such nonsense. I mean, those New World Order people, what a bunch of tinfoil-wearing nutbags. There is absolutely no evidence to prove that there's a New World Order going around, a one-world government, or any of that nonsense. Oh, Bush just told us to accept globalization? But it's still a mystery to Bush as to why conspiracy theories are prevalent in politics. Bush admitted there's a New World Order, one-world government, and we should accept it. And he wonders why there's a lot of conspiracy theories in politics. Not that Russia collusion nonsense, but real conspiracies. Like, I don't know, our former president telling us to accept globalism, or we're pretty much white supremacist? If you were to remove Bush from this speech for 1 minute and just listen to what is being said, you can come to the reasonable conclusion that this is Nancy Pelosi spouting her leftist ideas. Once you snap back into reality, you are horrified to see it's not a Democrat or socialist, but a supposed right-wing Christian conservative. Weird. I always thought Republicans were more pro-American, especially one calling himself a Christian conservative. Since Bush says he's a devout Christian, let's see what the Bible says about globalism. Daniel 7:23, "The fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth." I would think a supposed staunchly Christian person knew what Daniel 7:23 warned us about. It's the very thing George Bush is telling us to accept. Why would a Christian conservative tell us to accept globalism when passages in the Bible say it's part of the beast? Is he oblivious to these passages, or is he a fake phony? I'll let you decide. Bush went on to say,
"We've seen nationalism distorted into nativism. We've forgotten the dynamism that immigration has always brought to America."
He says nativism as if it has negative connotations attached to it, when in reality the definition is the policy of protecting the interests of native-born or established inhabitants against those of immigrants. Why wouldn't people be nativist? It's natural and healthy. An Italian person born and raised in Italy supports other native-born Italians who have lived and worked the land for millennia, and gives preference to them over newly arrived Somalis. Seems natural and instinctive to me. The lack of nativism would surely spell doom for the host nation. Nationalism and nativism is two sides of the same coin. A nationalist will always put their country and their people before anybody else's, as would a nativist. Bush saying nativism is distorting nationalism is just silly. I think the phonics monkey got loose in little Georgie's brain again.
Oh my god! Phonics Monkey killed Kenny! You're damn straight he did.